Look at that. I'm on time for once. Yapping streams are your favorite? Well, goody, goody, because that's what a lot of today's going to be. I am going to show off some of the progress I've made since last time, which hasn't been a whole lot, but it definitely has been quite a bit. Oh, let's start off correctly. Good evening. Hope you all are having a fantastic Monday evening or a Tuesday morning or afternoon, wherever it might be, whatever day it might be. How's it been? It's been pretty good. It's been pretty good. I'm glad to be back. It is truly an honor to be back again here in front of all of you. A lot of what I'm going to be doing today is we're going to be going through the Discord because I've been gone a lot. I would check in here and there and look at the Discord, but I really wouldn't have enough time to type in. Granted, I have been looking at and reading at a lot of the messages in there, but we're going to go over it today. That way I can give each kind of post its earned attention. And so that's actually where we're going to start today. Go ahead and move over to the Discord. My Discord. I remember how to do any of this. There we go. So a lot of posts in art. We'll get there in just a moment. Your monitor just broke an hour ago and you only have one left? Oh man. I have like, I'll have to show a setup, like my desktop setup at some point, but like only two of my monitors are the same size because the rest are just monitors I happened to either have lying around or an old friend was trying to get rid of. One of them is like a 15-inch TV, so it's super tiny. Hey Nibble, good to see you again. So let's start with, let's see if we missed, I don't think we missed any introductions, but we may as well go through. It doesn't look like it. Looks like last post was on the 8th, and I was still here. A lot, I think, happened in general. A lot of talk about DayZ and the acronym, and a lot of fan art. Here's one from Username. Not necessarily fan art, by the way, but also a lot of people just posting their own art and a lot of their own stuff. One time Resident Evil 3 remake crashed so hard that one of your monitors broke? Ooh, that's not good. Redeem ideas. I don't think we had too much posting here. I didn't get around to this. I have not yet got around to this, so I'll have to do it at some point. I have a little bit of free time this coming week. I don't think we have too many game recommendations that are new. Game design and art are where a lot of the comments are, so that's where we're going to be spending. Does fan art make you feel like you've made it? It is like, I don't know if y'all, or if I can really express this well enough. It is truly surreal that people make art of characters that haven't even really been released, that are mostly just concepts or have like such goofy looking models at this point, but it's amazing that people are so creative, and people that are creative are part of this either Discord or community, whatever you want to call it. I don't mind. And it's fantastic. It is beyond anything I ever thought might have happened. Got a few Poppy Playtime plushes and some YouTuber. Oh, that's cool. What did I get for Christmas? I got, so funny story. One of the things I had on like my Christmas list, and I had a bunch like from look at the spoiler off the screen for Resident Evil Requiem. From like smart plugs so that I could have lights turned on and off, to like headlamps so that like if I'm working on something and it's dark, I can see easily enough. So when I went to travel to go visit family, I was like, oh, I don't need any checked bags because I don't want to wait in line to get the bags checked. So I just had carry-on only, which means everything had to go through TSA. But one of the Christmas gifts I got was a knife set for like kitchenware, kitchen knives. And I'm like, oh, I can't take that through TSA. So it eventually got all sorted out anyway, but it's all been fine. But a A lot of my Christmas lists is just kind of like smaller things I don't necessarily need, but just kind of fun stuff like mugs. I got a cool One Piece mug, and I got a cool Resident Evil Umbrella Corporation beanie. So stuff like that. Let's see. I don't remember. Let's see. They've got dates on these, so we last time we saw each other was. Oh, looks like this. Okay, cool. Last had some cool art. The Kato. I don't know if that's English. Power ups. Is that? It kind of looks like Kirby. I don't know if this is Kirby or if it's original characters. Cool stuff though. Oh yeah, Daisy was overactive. We can fix that pretty easily. Let's actually go check that out right now. Check game design. Yeah, we're in there. We're scrolling down. I sent you some fan art of your OCs. Cool. Yeah, I saw that before the stream. We'll talk about it. This is random, but earlier today I found out someone made an AI video about your unreleased game. AI video how? Like in a good way? Like praising it, or is it just like slop? A good kitchen knife set is actually the best. I've been trying to find one that is dishwasher safe and rust free, because that's been the issue I've had. I have one ceramic knife, which is my favorite because it's just glass. Glass doesn't rust. But I've been trying to find like a ceramic knife set for the kitchen that I could just throw in the dishwasher, and I guess that just doesn't exist. Let's fix Daisy real quick. I think she got caught on the violence category. So a little bit of the behind the scenes here. If I can remember, I left messages back for how to do this. Set threshold. I think the violence threshold is what she caught for you. And it's in Daisy log spam. So if we scroll up where we see red, it was... Violence was a 0.3. That doesn't seem right. What's her violence threshold at? Oops. 0.75. Let's go ahead and let's bump that up to a 0.85. And the way it works is, how did that not work? Maybe it has to be plot commands. The way it works is anytime she categorizes like a message, so she rates each message a certain threshold. There we go. And if it surpasses a threshold, that's when she removes it. So these are the values that I've set. So because like this is a horror Discord, it makes sense to have violence and graphic set higher up than anything else. Go back to game design. Catch up on messages. Every AI video is sloppy? Yeah, I agree with that. It's some random like AI generated trailer thing? That is weird. I haven't gotten a chance to read this yet, so I had a good idea for your game if you're still doing co-op. Yes, I am. That's the plan. One monster will idly walk around harmless until a player's in a room alone with it. Then it'll teleport out of the room and the doors of the room will disappear for that player. Then the room will slowly turn into meat. Like the player is in the stomach of the monster and the player will be consumed. However, if the player is able to open the door in time, the first player will be saved. However, as soon as one player is trapped, the monster will then actively track any player that is alone to do the same to them. Great urgency, interplayer communication, and you could also have tasks that force the player to separate so that you have to find strategies. I know you want biological monsters, but you could say this is a fungus that spores consume while causing you to hallucinate, and free open-air doors, allowing you to get spores out of your lungs. I feel like I've just written a poem, but it's a good idea. You should you should listen to me. Second thing, I got a chance to play your games. Uh-oh. That's always a mistake. Cool, great environments. Also, nice voice acting. Ooh. Uh, I took playtest notes if you want them, but I get these were game jams, so probably not completed to perfection. Yeah, there's nothing really on itch that I'm super proud of. I do have a plan for something that I want to release this year, which we'll get to in a little bit, and that will be on itch.io. It's a good idea, but I feel the wall slowly shrinking would be better effect. I don't know how you'd make that biological. Hallucinogenic, I was about to recommend that. Like, it wouldn't necessarily be the walls actually closing in, but it would be something that makes the player think they are. I think Lethal Company does that. It could be pretty much whatever you want because the player's mind's creating it. Now you're cooking. Let's see. I think that's just a lot of back and forth. Could be spiders. I was thinking like the player gets stuck in a web. Like that's kind of what I pulled out of that idea. The tweaker mushroom guy. Let me make sure I'm not missing comments here. This year is 2025 or 2026? 2026. I'd like so jumping to the conclusion first, and I'll explain more a little bit later after we're done going through Discord. I would like to have something playable by June of 2026. Even if it's just like the intro tutorial part, just something for people to get their hands on so that they can critique things and get it back to me, and I can fold some of those criticisms back into the bigger project. I think that is the goal that I'm going to work towards. And for the sake of the channel name being all sevens, we'll call it June 7th is a deadline that I'm going to set for myself. But I'll get more into what I want to have ready by then in just a sec, once we're done going through all the Discord stuff. And Hoden, to your question, do I have plans for 2026? There is another thing I want to do in terms of community stuff, but again, we'll get to that after all the Discord stuff. I think we just have game design and art. I don't think there's been much posted in the other categories. And then a lot of just talk of how we've been. And then someone made fan art of a original character of Basties, the moderator of this channel here, of Meadow, which is really cool. And this is the art that he made initially. You've been making great progress, by the way. I don't know if I've said this to you offline, but drawing human characters, or at least humanoid-shaped characters, is always the most difficult. Because our brain will always try to pick apart anything that looks humanoid. That's why the uncanny valley exists, right? It's like a biological instinct to be very critical of anything that's meant to be humanoid. But you've been killing it, so keep it up, man. Honestly, you've been doing great. You draw women. Daisy didn't like that, apparently. She removed your message. Daisy, in fact, does not like hot women. Let me see. That might be a little bit oversensitive. I'm going to copy and paste your message and see what she rates it. A little bit of behind the scenes of how Daisy works, and this is going to help all of us in the Discord, by the way, because she does overreact a little bit. So we can go ahead and go to... Oh, I don't think she reads Daisy spam. We'll go here. She didn't delete that. I don't know what she said about... Oh, she doesn't moderate my messages, so I can't see what the values are. Probably should have thought of that. Oh well, I guess I'll figure that out at some point in the future. The idea is that I want to tweak these values to a point where it's safe, where people can talk about anything that we might want to talk about, but keep the threshold high enough to where, or I guess low enough to where if anything does actually cross that threshold, you'll go ahead and take action. The overreactiveness, it's lore accurate. Excuse me, stop making the females of chat feel uncomfortable by objectifying women. Exactly! Nibble, you got that correctly. We respect all women here. That's why Daisy did the thing that she did. Alright, let's check the art tag. Let me scroll up to before I left. Here we go. Awesome. By the way, username. I don't know if you're here tonight. I don't. Let me scroll up. Yes, you are. You're on Twitch. Fantastic. Thank you for the new profile picture. If I could fire emoji, this is the second time I would. Can we also talk about politics and religion in the Big E? In the YouTube chat, probably not. I don't think Daisy will remove that in the Discord. If it gets a little bit too heated, I might step in and remove some of the messages. But if it's in something like general, like there's definitely a lot of stuff that isn't controversial. Because especially with Big E, a lot of people are of the same opinion. But keep in mind, for the YouTube streams, it's mostly game dev oriented. And so most of the topic conversations I try to keep on that same topic. And of course, their own respective channels. I do feel like we should be able to talk about more mature topics. No hurling Trump comments, but I should be able to mention current topics. Kind of reiterating what I said, when it comes to the YouTube streams, I want to try to avoid that just because I think that can derail the stream itself. But when it comes to the Discord, especially in the general chat, I'm certainly a little bit more open to it, unless things start to get too heated against certain chat members. Let us swear. Frick yeah, let's do swears. I think swears have always been fine. Have there been any swears that have been removed? If so, I can try to tweak it right now so that she doesn't do that anymore. Because, like, again, this is a horror channel. Like, that's par for the course. That's the hard part with tweaking her auto mod, is that it's hard to capture, like, to let horror-related things bypass her filter, whereas others don't. By the way, if there are any moderators in the Discord that are active, her moderation is off. So that means that if either I or Basti are active in the Discord and chatting, she won't remove any messages. And actually, let me make sure I have that turned on. The intention there, let's see, supervisor bypass. Yeah, okay, yeah. The intention there is that humans know more than she does, so there's no point in her being around. Ultimately, I just want it to be, like, if I'm asleep and I'm offline for the next 8 hours or so, and people are spamming the chat or being, like, absurdly disruptive, I want her to take action in my place. In the Discord, you can't say, oh, really? Go ahead and shoot a message right now, and then I can look at what category that's getting caught in, and I can bump it up a bit. But let's keep going here. Go to the art tag. I did an first drawing I did in Ibis Paint called Noelle. I like her hair. It's again from Basti. You like that? Repost of Mari. Fire. I will never recover. Yeah, another important thing. I hope everyone had a wonderful Christmas. I enjoyed mine. Spent it with family, of course, which is why I've been kind of absent this past week. I'll try to be a little bit more active in the Discord this coming week, because I'm kind of back to my own schedule, my own timing. But even then, there are still a handful of things I need to do on my own. Should make a Mari concept sometime soon. Oh, no, maybe. If any of you are absolutely new and you don't know who Mari is, it's one of the handful of characters that I've made for the game that we're going to be jumping to in just a moment. One of the smaller antagonists and opposing forces of the game. And I think I even comment more about who she is in response to this comment here. Done. What did you eat for Christmas? I had, and let's see what Daisy said, by the way. Oh, that's not... That's not Daisy, that's Automod. Okay, I'll have to go into Automod settings and change that because Daisy is fine with it. It's a good idea to have Automod just to help with troublesome chatters, exactly. I am not new and I don't know who that character is. Yeah, it's ultimately because I keep it somewhat under wraps. Anything that isn't fully fleshed out, I won't necessarily, well, at least when it comes to lore, I won't necessarily talk too much about it because I'm still kind of developing it. I am very much a show don't tell. I feel like when it comes to a lot of my ideas, I can express them best by showing a small demo of them in action rather than trying to pitch an idea of who they are or what they are. But I do at some point here in this chat talk about who they are. And I think I did a pretty good job describing it. A lot of art from Username once again. It's a cool looking pen. Looks like a chill guy. Little alien dude. I would like to make a small little... I think an alien game would be fun to make at some point. Not anytime in the near future, because I've got a handful of other things I want to make first. But this is good. I like this. The Daisy fan art. And how she hates the Netherlands for whatever reason. That's fixed, by the way. If you're from the Netherlands, I'm sorry. If you were here during the great Netherlands purge of 2025. But it is no longer a problem. Smart guy. New drawing added to art. Yeah, we're going through it. Username again. Cooking like an absolute madman. It might take a bit. I'm redoing my room, so I've got everything out here to paint by tomorrow. I'm going to do it in a Whipple blue. I don't know what that means with white trim. So I hope I might have missed some context there. I'm guessing this is Whipple blue, the type of color. What? Yeah, wild. Hey, Raph, how you doing? Please bring back Netherlands racism. It is imperative for the game. Oh. I disagree with that. Used a color called Valley of Glaciers. Ooh. Okay, here's where I existed. And started replying. I missed a lot while I was out this week, but I'll try to reply to the pings real quick. And so someone asked, what's the story behind Mari? And even Hoden, who's been here for quite some time, doesn't know who that is. And so we'll kind of go to GIMP to explain this. Let's make a new one. Just so I can draw it out a little bit. Mari is one of the ooh, why did it do that? So in the mansion, if I can draw a rectangle, we have like all of these individual rooms. Mari is one of the monsters, and very specifically, she's the one that is very humanoid, that has... I also realized I wasn't showing GIMP, so I'll make sure to fix that when we go back to it. But she's the one that's very humanoid with razor wire puppet strings, and that's how she moves around using these puppet strings. The intention here is that she is the opposing force for the player solving puzzles in this mansion environment. And I should really come up with or at least find the map that I drew of one of the mansion layouts rather than trying to draw a box every single time. But the idea is that while the player is exploring the mansion and solving puzzles, she is there to slow the player down. And there are a handful of different monster types. All of them have a unique origin story, but in a broader sense, they're all very similar in their origins. Before I continue, let me finish reading some chat messages here. Now I can't sleep in my room today because paint fumes can't be good to sleep in. Open up a window and point a fan at your face if you've got it. Did you get anything cool for Christmas, Raph? I got a laptop and someone drew fan art of one of my OCs. That is a cool Christmas gift, Basti. I agree to that. And let me see what I said in response to, so going back to talking about the characters of my game, Mari, which is one of the opposing forces of the game. Some of the answer to this is a spoiler, and I won't get into it quite just yet, but she was an experiment of some kind. Each of the game's monsters are also an experiment in a similar way. There's another character, which we've talked about before very lightly, called Eve, that I've lightly discussed, which is the source of all of these experiments. In this part, I'm very particular with the wording about Eve did not create these other monsters, but they exist through her. That might sound confusing. One way to think of it, one analogy that I can kind of use, and this might become more apparent as the game starts to take more solid form, is if you think of like a flame on a candle. If you think of the source of that flame, or the source of what that is, being the flame itself, the heat and the light created by that flame are the life of the monsters. Whereas the source of it itself is the actual flame in the middle. That's actually, now that I say that out loud, it's a lot more confusing than it is. But it's meant to be vague, it's meant to be confusing. For the time being, that's kind of where I'll leave that. At some point, I might have a better analogy to use, or even just the full explanation will become available as the game development progresses. I got a new DualSense Edge for PS5 since the regular ones keeps breaking on me, but now I'll actually be able to use your PS5 more. Ooh, that's a good gift, Raft. All your characters are women. Is your relationship okay with your mom and wife? Yes. Ultimately, this came about because it was... the initial design for the character was that she was a... trying to think back. The way that I've been referring to these, like, head monsters, like the big boss, is a matriarch. Because there are certain animals in the animal kingdom that an entire group of them is led by a female. Not always necessarily blood-related, but I kind of drew a lot of inspiration from that dynamic when creating Eve. And so naturally, when anything kind of similar to her exists, it made sense to continue to make it that type of dynamic. So, I don't know if I've used this term before, but anytime I'm referring to Eve, or when she's referred to in the game, the term matriarch is probably what will be used in regard to the relationship between her and the rest of the smaller monsters. Did you take drugs before writing the story? It's a lot of just like loose ideas that a lot of them don't necessarily make sense, and some of them kind of get tossed away. Some of them make sense to some degree, but will conflict with other ideas. And so, like, parts of it will continue to exist, some of it won't. Ultimately, we're very early on in a lot of the story development, so a lot of what I'm talking about now might get retconned, it might get changed. But a lot of what I'm saying is just kind of spitballing ideas that I've had for a while. Not everything I'm even saying tonight, even stuff I might be kind of confident in tonight, might not fully make it, and if it doesn't necessarily fit. Can I say that? No, you're fine, Basti. Men are afraid of the existence of women. Nibble, are you okay? New posts and game recommendations. Sunny Time Friends. Oh, is this the one that you made? I don't have a tab open for Google that OBS can grab. But if you're in the Discord, feel free to check that out. Sorry, bad joke. In like 3 to 4 years, when Eroded is fully complete, I don't know what you're going to do with your life. I have a lot planned for Rotted. Not necessarily planned, but I have a lot of loose ends that I intend to keep open if I want to keep working on it. So, as a man, this is true. We are all afraid of women. Yes, we, you and me. Whatever you say is your name. Oh, why did Daisy not like that? Neko anime girl sim, please. Oh, we should probably talk about more some. I can't speak tonight. You'd think I'd be good at this after a couple of years. Some of the plans I have for the end of the year, so we can go ahead and go back into GIMP for this. Oh, I did mute my mic accidentally. Thank you, username. What I was saying is I would like to have a rough demo of at least the tutorial ready by June 7th of this coming year. Not going to make too many promises of what's going to be in that. We're going to go off on a side tangent here in a moment, talking about what I'd like to see in that. But we'll move on, and then we'll go back to this a little bit later. Another thing I would like to do, and this is a little less likely, is some kind of community game for us. Does community have 2 M's or 1? I think it's 2, right? Yes. Something that I was thinking of, and the idea that I have for this is something that a certain portion of it happens on stream. And then while we're offline, people can continue to like either collect resources or level up or stuff like that. I was thinking to like an RPG. And the idea for this ultimately stemmed from when I was playing Terraria with my friends. And it was kind of a similar dynamic where there'd be parts where we'd all get together at once. And that's when we would fight the next boss in Terraria. And then there would be parts where, like throughout the week, they weren't online, but I could still go and collect resources with my character and prepare for when we would all get together again at the end of the week. And whether this is a game that already exists, made by some other developer, maybe even potentially Terraria itself with some mods, I don't know, or Minecraft, or maybe something small that I can make. That's an idea I've had for a while. I'd like to at least begin executing on this idea in the coming year, 2026. Whether or not this sees the light of day, who knows? But I like the idea of there being something, even if it's monthly, where like at the end of the month we all get together and we progress like a part of the story of some RPG or something. And then throughout the rest of the month, the game is still playable, but you can just like level up your character and collect resources and stuff like that. What is the execution of that going to look like? I'm not quite sure yet, but that's something I want to start at least acting on this year. Whether or not it even comes to work or come out, who knows? But it's been an intention of mine for a while. And as I'm getting better at game development, I definitely want to at least take a stab at it. Can you bring chat up? I can't see Twitch. I can't, because if I bring chat up, that'll include YouTube, and Twitch doesn't like me showing YouTube chat on stream. So sorry about that. That's why I've been trying to really read messages out loud as much as I can. Christmas dinner. I had ham, potatoes. What else? Cranberry sauce, sweet potatoes, and green bean casserole. Very good. My sister made it. Make the 6th of June so it'll be 666. Not 777. Hey, Maddie, how you doing? Good to see you again. How was the holiday? Holiday was fantastic. Spent it with family. Traveled halfway across the country, which is why I was gone for so long. Have you made it to the end of art? I did make it to the end of art, I think. Hey stream, this was a roller coaster. I started drawing an outline, then added the black dress, and started adding plates to it. I thought it looked kind of cool. Looks like Batman, so I added a cape. And while doing the hair, I thought he looked like a Pokemon trainer. So here we are. Batman if she were a woman in a Pokemon trainer. Nice. Heck yeah, man. There are Twitch overlays to just show Twitch chat, but I'm not the streamer here, so I'm going to keep my mouth shut. No, I appreciate feedback like that. I'll look into it. It would be cool to have something like that. Yum, minus the sauce. No, not a fan of cranberry sauce. I'm mostly in the same boat, but my sister makes very good cranberry sauce. A lot of sugar is the secret, what I found out. So when it comes to the demo that I want to release on June, go ahead and do this. More gravy, less sauce. There was gravy too. The gravy was fantastic. I got the monitors to look quite a bit better. So this is the new monitor. If you remember last time, it looked super weird. And I'll go ahead and show why that is. Ultimately, what I needed to do is make it circular instead of squares. When it was squares, it distorted the image on the screen in a way that made it look not great. So I remade this in a way that the monitor screen was, it came to a circular point, and that made the image display a lot better. And another thing that I'll do, let's go ahead and open up Substance Painter. I went to Substance Painter, updated the UVs and the texture mapping on it. One thing that I will want to do is share this in the Discord, so that if any of you, for whatever reason, want to use that, you can do so. And very explicitly, there's no licensing to it, right? Public domain, you don't have to credit me. It's as simple as can be. I'm going to drop the model file and the textures that I made for it in the Discord, free to use for whatever project you want. No limitations on that. Give me just a sec and I'll do that now. I believe it's this one, monitor.fbx. Let me double check. Yep, that's right. A beautiful quadruple VHS setup. I hope Blue shows up. She told me she was sick quite bad 3 days ago. Oh man. She's doing okay. And then let me grab the textures too, so I can drop those in there. There you go. Have at it. If any of you are trying to figure out how to throw that into Unreal Engine, if that's your engine of choice, the way that I did it is as follows. So if we click this and open up this material here. Whoops. You'll see that there are two materials. This second one is what shows up on the screen. The first one is what you want these three images to be assigned to. This one is just the base color. The second one is the normal map. The third is the occlusion. And so it can be as simple as... It looks a little complicated here. If you have a parent material, you can assign it here. And it looks like I'm lagging a little bit. Okay, we're fixed. You can assign it here also just in any base material. So if we can find, let's see. We'll make one real quick just to go. This is base color. This is where your, where is it? This is your normal map. And this is your ambient occlusion. You just plug those three textures into these respectively. You can even click and drag if you don't know how to navigate this panel here. Go ahead and delete those. Again, if for whatever reason that asset is something you want to use, you're welcome to use it. I'm not putting any limitations on that. Unreal and simple in one sentence is funny. You're gonna, you've got to draw a hamburger with oh. Why? Probably just okay. So, when it comes to what I would like to be in the demo, let's go ahead and talk about that. The idea is, and do I have this drawn out anywhere else? No, we'll use this one though. We'll use the page. Your problems are in UE are getting weirder every time. What's up now? What I would like to do for the demo is pretty simple, and give me just a second. I'm gonna close Substance Painter so that I get a little bit more power back to my machine. Is kind of what we talked about last stream. And if you weren't here, the idea is the player is in an elevator and they go from one room to another. In that room is an animal of some kind. At the tutorial part of the game, the animal isn't hostile, so it's just there to teach the player the other mechanics in terms of being a data analyst. And we'll do a circle. I think that's a better interpretation there. The animal has a set list of behaviors. And there will be different levels of this. Specifically, I'm thinking maybe 2 or 3. Where in each one, it does something different. This is what I'm imagining the terminal will look like. So this is what will show up on the screens the player interacts with. On the first screen is the monster select, or in this case, the animal selection. you are opening up the profile for that specific entity. So this would be the first floor, the second floor, and the third. In it is an image, a brief description of it here, and then details including like its height and weight, any other characteristics like hair color, etc. This is where a lot of the second screen is where a lot of the other gameplay kind of comes into account. And the intention here is that the behaviors that are assigned to that creature are listed here. And so let's jump back into the engine to show this off real quick. So on this mannequin here, we can scroll up and we can see what behaviors it has. Right now it has a favorite room behavior, it has a flee from bright lights behavior, and a freeze when spots the player behavior. But there's a lot more than just those three. So what would likely show up on that second monitor is something more like this. All of those behaviors would show up at once, but not all of them will apply to one of these entities. And so this page is mostly meant to present these in a way that's easy to navigate. So maybe have some sort of heading here to break them apart into subcategories, have the description here, and then when you click it, you can assign it and say, hey, this first entity exhibits that behavior I'm clicking on. And even further than that, you can see, well, what have I assigned this behavior to in the past? And then you can also say, like, what monsters that I've experienced thus far also exhibit this behavior. You're leaving now. Take it easy, take it easy, Raph. Help you have a good evening or afternoon. The square is too hostile. Let me scroll up a bit. Fantastic idea. As both a science tech and a DA, this is not DA. Vasty, do you want me to leave? Sorry. It's a little bit late for me. I didn't get too much sleep last night, so if I feel like... if I sound a little bit off, that's why. I for sure did not want to cancel this stream tonight, so I'm kind of just powering through it as best as I can. So, pardon me for kind of being a little bit all over the place, and if, you know, either slurring words or my explanations don't make sense, that's ultimately why. The flight was close to about 5 hours long, so I went more than halfway across the country. And then obviously I'm back now, I'm back in my home setup, but little jet lagged, but I really wanted to push through this. Under what corporation does the player work under? A fantastic question. They work under the Snowflake Corporation, which, the logo of which is the logo of our horror headquarters. The logo of it, and it's hard to see here in the Discord, it's meant to resemble something like a snowflake, while also looking somewhat similar to the Biohazard logo. I try to kind of mesh those two together. We have Unreal Engine 5. Oh, I also wanted to throw this out. Limited time free, by the way. It ends tomorrow. There is a lab asset, there is a character asset, and another environment asset. Again, it ends tomorrow. Free assets. I highly recommend grab some. What is this? You made the Minecraft leaf block? Oh, this is the issue you're having. What? Oh. Yes, Hoden. I think I know what it is. Do you have access to the Blender file of that object? Because what might happen sometimes, that looks like the normals are wrong. So, for example, Like if I were to go to texture paint, and let's say I had an actual texture on this in Blender, what this red here means, and you have to turn this on. You have to go up here to, it's called face orientation. Trying to figure out where the setting is to turn that on. Where is that? Did they update this recently and move face orientation? Well, this will do it too if you turn on faces. And then you can see here, these have a little line in the center. This line represents what the player will see. This red means that it's not visible from this side, it's visible from this opposite side. You don't want that. You want to make sure that when the player is viewing it, the side that they're viewing it is the side that has the texture. You don't need this step by step, you just need something in the right direction. Okay, cool. Hopefully that helps. But yeah, that looks like... And that's weird. This top part definitely looks like an inverted normal. Actually, it looks like all of this is probably inverted. So, Alt-N is the shortcut in FVX. Or not FVX, in Blender. You drove for 6 and a bit, I'm guessing 6 hours, from Washington to Ohio. Wait, Washington State or Washington, D.C.? That's quite the difference. Also, give me just a second. I need to fill up my water. Let me throw the horse race minigame up on screen real quick while I do that. That you guys aren't just sitting here in the dark while I go fill up my water. I guess it's also 'tis the season and whatnot. And also, if the buttons are in Blender are different, it's because Blender 5.0 dropped. Oh. Ask questions, then immediately leaves. What do you want? I am a little bit all over the place today. I'm sorry about that. But I'm only going to leave for a second. How do I do this again? Whoops. Sorry about that weird sound effect. That was the me switching to just like my desktop capture. But then it also thinks I'm trying to trigger the Lisa thing. You know it's DC. Oh, that's right. You went from... See, that's why I was confused. You went from DC to Ohio in 6... What... Do you mean 6 hours, or...? I feel like that's much longer than a 6-hour drive. Alright, I will be back in just a second. Use this opportunity to bet on a horse, and I'll be back. Who chose green? Oh. 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 All of us? Another? Okay, fine. Also gives me a chance to chat a bit. You meant green? Another thing, and I talked about this back in November or October, I wanted to make a new level for this. I just didn't get the opportunity to do it. I would still like to at some point, but I feel like this is such a small part of the streams that I feel like there are more things I can dedicate my time to that would be better. Can I ask annoying questions about this game? Sure. Oh, you were just saying 6 because you were trying not to say 6, 7. Gotcha. I am going to unofficially vote blue. So what are the mechanics of the horse game or of um the game that we've been working on for a while that I keep talking about? Horse. Um what do you mean by mechanics? Because the essentially what it is it's a bunch of sphere objects, and then inside of the spheres are horses, or I guess in this case reindeer. And we can move around, and I can show this off, the actual project itself, but it is just gravity. Yes, there are a couple of parts where it needs a little bit more of a push to get through the town, and I can show exactly where that is. So there's like an alleyway, you'll notice, where the reindeer just kind of get flung. Like right here at that arrow. And that's because the map wasn't tilted well enough for the reindeer to roll down that little alleyway. But because I'm using like an extra force on them, sometimes they kind of just fly off the map. Also, congrats to Yellow. Hey, Kevin. Hey, Kevin, how you doing? Anyone win? Anyone get yellow? No yellow? Oh, someone got yellow. Maddie, congrats! You did it. I'm proud. But to show you the full, so you'll see it's tilted, and the reindeer, if we turn on collision, you'll see they're just like sphere capsules, with the reindeer kind of just existing inside of it, which is why they roll around like crazy. The camera is here on this line, and so the way that it works is whoever is closest to this line, or I guess say, whoever is closest to the end point of this line is where that little tracker on the side shows where the reindeer are. Whoever is furthest along this path is who this camera focuses on. If we click this and we open up the side panel here, oh, I didn't click it. There we go. It's a rail. It's a rail specifically for the camera. And so that kind of tells the camera where it needs to be, what it needs to focus on. Sometimes if the reindeer get flung to like this part here, it'll think that it's in the lead, even if it's just stuck. So it'll focus on this reindeer like behind this house, even though it's impossible for that reindeer to win, until another reindeer comes and gets closer to this finish line. You find basic things interesting? No worry. That's a good question. I mean, that's kind of the point of these streams, right? Like, there's like I say only 15 people here. 15 people is a lot, and I appreciate you all for being here. But the point is that I want each and every one of you 15 to be comfortable asking questions. If your comfort zone is just watching and lurking in chat, that's perfectly fine. I'm not going to tell you to do otherwise. Um, but you're always more than welcome to ask questions, even if you think that they're silly or basic. But you can see here, at this slant, it's not quite enough to get the reindeer to roll the right direction. So what I do is I just have these little boosters. It just adds a velocity to each marble that touches this square to go the direction the arrow is pointing, just to keep them rolling along. Can I answer your randomized question? Sure, let me scroll up and see if I can find it. How does it randomize if it's built the same each time? The randomization is the gravity. The physics engine doesn't always behave the same. So the way that the reindeer land is always going to be different. And we can show it off. I was going to say we can show it off here, but the issue is that there's the timer. So if I do a simulate, we would have to wait a minute. I don't know who has the timer for me to remove it. But if you were to like drop something in Unreal Engine and simulate it, the way that it falls is going to be different each time. Which technically isn't how it would work in reality. Like if you knew exactly how something was going to fall and the manner at which it fell, you could precisely calculate where and how it would land. There's an entire Vsauce video about this where like, is a dice roll actually random? In reality, the answer is no. Like if you knew exactly everything about how that dice was falling, you could calculate where it would land, technically. But in Unreal Engine, that's not quite how it works. That does kind of make it random. Why does it not do the same thing each time? Sorry, you're not annoying. That's a perfectly understandable question. I'm not quite so sure. I think it's because trying to simulate physics is a really hard thing. And especially when it comes to like the randomness of how things fall. And we can take a moment here and we can reduce that timer. And we can, if I can find it. I think I named it somewhat appropriately if we go through here. I don't know, is it UDP connection? I don't think it's UDP connection. Go ahead and check this out. I'm gonna hide this for just a sec. I don't know if this shows like IP or whatnot. I think I'm good. Give me just a second to double check. Okay, yeah, we're good. We're going to go back. So the way that it works is as soon as the game starts, this gets called, this event begin play. And it does that 90-second delay, which is the timer countdown. You have 1 minute and 30 seconds to cast your vote. Getting doxed on Unreal would be unreal. So we can go ahead and set this to 1 second. I did this in a very like spaghetti code way in which the user widget has a different timer that also happens to be 90 seconds. So when I simulate this, it'll start immediately, but the timer will still say 90 seconds at the top. Then it plays the music. During the non-holiday season, it plays the horse race theme from Ocarina of Time. During holiday season, I have it play the Freezeezy Peak from Banjo-Kazooie. Then what it does is it gets all of the horses. Well, what it does is it gets each of the 4 doors, and then it plays an animation that's meant to open it. This doesn't work super well, so that's not super important to what we're doing. This part, it gets all the horses and tells them, hey, start simulating physics. This is where the randomness is. And then the rest of this is just to, you know, say that the race has begun and to start the camera and whatnot. But if we go back here, now that I had it set to a 1-second timer, it should almost immediately drop the horses from up above. And if we simulate, did I lie to you? Did I not change it? Let me make it like 5 seconds maybe. Huh. I was going to try to show that like each time they fell... Oh, there it goes. So you can see that the way they fell there was one way, and let's change this to even less time. If we do that again, it's going to be different. So the way in which those reindeer fall, I don't know exactly how Unreal does the calculations of each of those, but it's different enough each time to where it's not always going to be the same result by the end of it. .8 meters a second squared is the velocity of gravity. It is, and I'm sure I would assume they probably even use that calculation at somewhere along the lines, because it's consistent enough to be able to like make most games out of it. But I don't know exactly how it works. I mean, the source code is available online, and I'm sure someone knows exactly how the Unreal Engine physics engine works. But I took physics in college, and boy oh boy, is that shit complicated. So I think I'm good. I think I'm good. So we did about an hour of yapping. Let's do a little bit of game development. And ultimately what I want to do is make this UI into something that actually looks like a UI. I want to make this and throw it into Unreal Engine so that we can get it to populate on the screens. The idea is that we have that desktop-looking background. So something like what we see here. Remove this from it, but kind of keep like the same square vibe. Remove these from the background because these aren't relevant. These are just placeholders for the time being. And then get one of those to appear on the left monitor, the other to appear on the right monitor. Another thing that I could do instead of doing the UI stuff is get it so that I could like press a button here and it would focus on a different monitor. The screens are legit so impressive. Great work. Thank you. It took quite some time to get that to work. I think there were a handful of streams where like I just was struggling with it. And if anyone is curious on how I got the UI element stuff to work, essentially there's a widget underneath it. So if we set its opacity to 1. So there's an invisible widget that's flat in front of the screen. And then what's happening is that's the widget you're interacting with. But it's copying that widget to the curvature of the monitor here as a material. And it's doing it through this create dynamic material instance. And then in the event graph, under event tick, it's updating it with its render target. And I'll kind of slowly go through this in case anyone happens to be watching this video to figure out how I did that. I don't think anyone would be, but just again, in case. And then these are just for development testing. Don't really do anything now. That took a while to get it to do exactly what I wanted it to do because I didn't want a flat monitor, which would have been the easiest thing to do. I wanted it to like have that curved look to it. But I'm very happy with how it turned out. The other thing which I guess we can discuss is which might be good to kind of have a little bit more back and forth. Hold on, let's see. Speaking of UI, says username on Twitch, I would recommend a grungy Fallout New Vegas color for text and outline to show that that Snowflake can't be bothered to update their system. I do like that a lot. I like that idea. I would have to go back into New Vegas to see what that looks like. But are you talking about like the in-world UI as opposed to like the pause menu or inventory, like kind of what we're looking at with the screens here? Remember when you could feel the static from the TV? Oh yeah. Did you ever like what was it? You could put you could blow a balloon full of air and put it up against the TV and it would stick to it? I mean like the Pip-Boy colors. Oh yeah, like the terminal color. Um Oh yeah, that's true, Basti. Yeah, I mean that's one of the reasons why if you paid attention in the Discord, I'm not going to pull it up again just because there's not really too much of a reason to. One of the categories is set obscenely high, and that is very intentional. That is very intentional. So she will hyperactively remove people of that category. Okay. One other question I did have was, so if we do standalone game, I might have to pop this into. Actually, I don't know if it'll work because it technically there are compile errors. So give me just a sec. Let me try this out. You're gonna be seeing a black screen for just a moment. 1 sec. So when it comes to what the player should see when they're in this view, I want to get some feedback here. Because again, what we talked about was this. One screen has a description of the monster, the other has the list of the behaviors, and between these two, you add behaviors from one monitor onto the description and profile of the monster on the other monitor. Does it make sense to have two monitors in screen at one time like this? And then when you switch, it switches to like So it's always two monitors in view. It's like these two and then these two. Does it make sense to have one monitor fully take up the screen? How do we feel about that? Any feedback that people might have? The first option, to where we have multiple monitors on screen. Dude, please make a YouTube video for the details you are sure you'll add to return on this day and the work you've done so far. That'll save hours from your and my life. The first FO. Okay. First comment, Basti. Yeah, I definitely probably should. Um, I think like when I have more of this scene built up to where I could showcase a little bit more of the concept, that would be a good opportunity to do it, even if I don't have a lot of the environment built or the character designs built. But as long as something functionally works, I think that'll be a good opportunity to do that. Is there a gameplay reason why the screens aren't their own window? Yes, and that goes to the next question that I want to ask all of you. Because that's an option. I can just make each screen its own window. But the idea is... and I might have to go to Recollections of the Desolate, the other game I made for Halloween, to show this off well enough. Is that you can still see part of the environment behind this. And so when it comes to... Let's see, can I go F8 in this mode? No, I can't. When it comes to how much of the screen does this take up, do we want some of the screen? And you know what? It might be better if we do this. Oh, shoot. Hold on. Where did my mouse go? There we go. So, like, do we want to have it to where it's fully taking up the screen like this? Or have it to where, like, you can still see part of the environment. You could still see past it. And the reason, so to answer your question, Kevin, let me open up this project of mine. And hopefully it'll make a little bit more sense. I think you need to get into a bit more advertising for yourself. Maybe. You won't have to explain 20 minutes whenever a new person joins, or sometimes just for fun. Fair enough, fair enough. That's a good point. First option, otherwise it's hard to read. That is also a good point. I know 3 streamers, one makes full commentary, gameplay videos, thousands of views. The other uploads stream highlights, tens of views. You 0 views. Thanks. If you can see past it, you can gain a sense of something is coming. Something is going to come through that door and maul me. Don't mind the mannequin, he's just chilling out, yeah. So kind of like how Paper Please has you comparing and contrasting the data, yes. Almost exactly like that. And I can get into that again in just a moment here. But this is a game that I made for Halloween. And let me very quickly just like speed run to a very specific part. Some of us got them old people eyes. Fair enough, fair enough. Close your eyes for potential spoilers to this puzzle here. I'll let you know when it's good to open them again. Okay, you're good. One of the things that I really want to do is kind of seamlessly incorporate the UI with the rest of the environment itself. And one of the ideas I had to execute on that is something that I somewhat tested out here in what is essentially the unfinished version of this Halloween game I wanted to make. And this technically has a beginning to end. But the idea is like, rather than this puzzle being what the camera is focusing on, imagine these are the two monitors. But you could also look behind you. That's the intention of having it exist in world like that. Because in the gameplay, while you're on the monitor, that doesn't necessarily mean you're safe. You can still, like, in this case, you hold space and the camera moves to behind you. And in this version, or in this game, something is coming for you. And you can see it coming slowly at the end of the hallway. That is ultimately why I have them exist in world as 3D objects. You're gonna start sketching the hamburger? Good luck, man. Good luck. So I guess before we continue to anything else, how do we feel about that idea? Oh, good. Steam VR didn't initialize. Houghton had told me how to fix that. I just haven't gone and done it yet. One sec. We'll go back to Unreal Engine 5. Seems interesting. Okay, okay. Maddie enjoys that. Yeah, and Basti, you're right. I definitely do repeat myself a lot. It'd probably be a good idea to make a video about this. But kind of to like the point of the gameplay, the idea is that if any of you have played Phasmophobia or Lethal Company, you know you kind of have a place that's somewhat your safe place. Or I guess, in Phasmophobia, it's 100% safe. In Lethal Company, it's like mostly safe. In this game, it's a train, and then you have the mansion, which is ultimately not safe. And then kind of between the two, you have like this courtyard, which is also not particularly safe. But the monster won't, on its own accord, go out there unless it's following someone. So the idea is something that Lethal Company and Phasmophobia don't do is that you can't play the game from inside this car here because it's safe. There's not... You can do some stuff in Phasmophobia and in Lethal Company, but not enough to really be useful. And I want to expand on that. I want players to be able to play the game from in the safest part of the map, if they so choose. In doing this, however, from a game design perspective, I have to make this less safe, but still potentially dangerous, so that there is a lose condition for the players that decide to stick back and hide in the safest part of the map. And the intention for how I would execute on this is once the entity knows that there are players in the map, there are some things that will happen that will draw the attention of the monster to this left safe spot. And it will slowly or potentially even quickly, depending on the behaviors of the monster, make its way to the player in the train. So there's two different types of gameplay that I envisioned. One of them are the types of players who want to just go into the mansion, solve the puzzles, monster be damned. That's geared more like the Resident Evil Phasmophobia puzzle-solving gameplay. But to the players who want to just sit and survive in the train car, that type of gameplay will be a little bit closer to like the Five Nights at Freddy's game, to where you're solving puzzles all from your office in the train car, but the entity, the monster, is still a danger. It can still come and find you. And that's the purpose of having them separated. Now, technically in Five Nights at Freddy's, the camera view was its own widget, like Kevin, you were saying. So that's not to say that I can't combine them, but I like the idea of it all kind of blending together a little bit more seamlessly than in Five Nights at Freddy's. Now, catching up on chat messages because I was yapping for a while. It might be more interesting to make a head movement mechanic. He seems interesting. Great. Now I have a stupid music box stuck in your head again. I recently remembered I gifted you Dead Space 1 remake last year. How's that coming? Ooh, I haven't played it yet, but I do want to get around to it. I think if you can make that happen, it'll be super fun. I'd like to think so too. A lot of this is about not just coming up with ideas, but building them out in a way that's playable. But even before I get to that point, just having all 15 of you here to explain these ideas to, even in their like immature states as they are now, because that's all they are. They're just ideas, concepts. There's still a lot of value that you all provide to me by saying, well, how about this example, or how about that, or what about this scenario, and things that I wouldn't have been able to think of on my own. I think it really ties into the UI design of screens and how readable it is. That is a good point. What if the player in the safe area has to speak to unsafe players through the intercom? This intercom will alert the monster and begin searching for the player using the intercom. Eventually, the monster will approach the safe area. I do like that. I think I'd come up with something similar, like kind of the inverse of that, where the monster will always be attracted to the safe area because, it's a train. To continue to supply power to all the equipment used, if you're staying inside, the engine has to be on. The engine makes a lot of noise. That noise is going to attract unwanted things. Now, if you're going to explore the mansion itself, you don't need to have the train engine on. Or you could. Maybe you want to use that as a distraction to some extent. But I also don't know if that would be too easy to the players who are going inside to explore. But the alternative, too, would be if you keep the engine on and there's no one there to protect the train car, what if the entity damages it somehow and then you have to repair it? Maybe you have to have someone stick behind, or maybe have the train powered down while you're investigating. Let's see. Basty's message. Daisy yoinked. So let me go ahead and pull this log up. I hate passwords that need more than 7 digits. Ibis needs 12? Oh no. Where are your rubber duckies? I've yet to see Five Nights. The monster... the monster really likes Strange. That's a good one, username. It's, I don't know if any of you have seen, like, that one train guy. I don't know if he's on TikTok or, like, what social media he is. But he has, like, this very odd perspective face cam when he's at, like, train stations admiring, like, certain models of trains. And it's just the goofiest thing. And then there was a horror game that came out recently, like Dead Cam or something, that has the almost exact same perspective on the monster itself. I'm making a very niche reference that like 0.5% of the population of Twitch would understand. And those 0.5% of people are not here tonight. That was like 4 years ago. I'm pretty sure he's not dead. I'm sure he's still doing it. Okay. So a lot of the feedback, so let's summarize kind of what we were talking about and kind of what the feedback is. Most importantly, we want to make sure that players can read the text on the screen and that it's not too small. If we go back to this, if we just have these two on screen, let's see which text here would be the smallest. Probably the behavior description, which is ultimately the most important because that's going to be the stuff that talks about. Go back to this. It's going to be essentially a description of what each of these mean. Like, again, here's like a small list. Oh, you guys can't see that. Here's the list of all the potential behaviors that might be on that screen. And so kind of an expanded version of this would be on that one monitor. So for instance, if we had like favorite room, the description of that might be like, oh, the entity tends to frequent rooms with a billiards table in it. Something like that. So that text would likely be the smallest on the screen. So we'd make sure that that text is legible, and then we would know that everything else above that is also legible. I love how in-depth you get with your game ideas and lore. Thank you. Sometimes I get too caught up in it to the point where like it slows progress down, but I mean, I've been at this for 2 years and I'm still going at it, and the progress, as slow as it might be, is consistently being uploaded live to both Twitch and YouTube. So, slow and steady wins the race. But I definitely want to... I think I'm starting to get a point where I have enough knowledge on how to do things the right way, where things will start to move faster. And that's what I'm really hoping to capture in 2026. You're watching a video about recognizing characters from silhouettes. From just shapes and beats. I know exactly what you're talking about. I don't want to stream just to keep me consistent. Honestly, I was talking about this with Hoden the other day. I think it was even in the Discord, because he was asking, like, how do I convince myself to continue working on my project? And one of my answers, I gave him two. One of them was, for me, the streams do it. Like, I have a hard time convincing myself to start working on this project, but thinking like, oh, it's the weekend. On Monday, I'm expected to show chat what I've been working on since I saw them last. And if I've got Jack all to show them, it's going to be kind of awkward. So even coming here and sharing ideas is still technically working on the game. And so TLDR, Kevin, I would absolutely recommend streaming if you have the ability to do it. And making a schedule, being consistent, it really does truly help me a lot. The other thing I recommended to Hoden was think of something that you can do to work on your game that takes less than 5 to 10 minutes. Whether that's just updating the description of a single item, or maybe even tweaking the name, or maybe just adjusting the color of a level of the lighting to make it look a little bit nicer. Because when you spend those 5 to 10 minutes and you complete that task, you're likely going to keep working. You're likely already going to be past that initial hurdle of getting started. But when you tell yourself that, oh, just 5 minutes to do this one quick thing, it's a lot easier to get into that mindset of, okay, well, let's just do this to get it done with. And then it's easier to go from that to working on it for more than an hour. I think you need to use chat as your accountability partners. So tell us you will complete X by next stream. Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's kind of why I did the June 7th release date of the demo. But I think you're right. Even like splitting it up into even smaller pieces makes it a little bit more achievable. You're passing out. Oh, get some sleep, Maddie. Get some sleep. Thank you for coming here tonight. I appreciate it. You're always it's always, a welcome surprise, and to just an honor to have so many of you here tonight. I can growl. I haven't had enough. That's how you convince yourself to make art. Awesome username. Yeah, that's it. It works for me a lot. Damn, just checked the artist name I jokingly made is free. I might have to start shrimp. Do it, Kevin. Do it. So you're telling me a shrimp fried this? Maybe, Livid. Maybe. Also, hello. Also, Livid, if you hear me talking to people, those are not the voices in my head. I dual stream on YouTube. Right now we're talking about a lot of, we're bouncing a lot of game design ideas, trying to talk about how I want a very specific UI to look when it comes to player interaction and either zooming this camera in closer so that it's easier to see, while also giving enough of the environment available for the players to see what's going on around it. To kind of give like what's the word? Where it's like you see things out of the corner of your eye. Something like that, to where your focus is on the UI, the focus is on the monitor, but you can still see things going on around you in case there's any potential threats. And so we've been talking about that back and forth for quite a bit. You got kicked right after saying that? What? Bad joke, you guess? Oh, so yeah, sorry. If anything, that might be my auto mod. She's kind of psychopathic. I do apologize for Daisy. That's her name. Oh, I think username posted something about Daisy that I didn't read. You can make the player have to complete a CAPTCHA every time you submit a report, just in case Daisy's trying to make some money. You have a nice voice, man. I think you should give up on this game dev stuff and start doing long-form history documentaries. Believe it or not, I did try to do voice acting for quite some time, and even got my foot in the door and did some voice acting work for some pretty big names in a couple of different industries. The issue is that that industry doesn't pay a lot of money, especially now with artificial intelligence and AI voiceovers. Like, it was bad like 10 years ago. It's even worse now, I'm sure. So, but yeah, I mean, it would have been fun to do that, and it is still fun to do voiceover work where I can, but it's just not super feasible. Computer science is fun. I have a lot of fun making games, and during my day job during the week for the other computer science stuff I do, I also enjoy that as well. So, okay, I think I need to adjust Daisy because she's going psycho. So, sorry about all the message deletions. I'm going to go ahead and tell her to stop. That's another thing I need to fix. I fixed her moderation abilities on Discord, but she also does it on the Twitch chat, and she is disabled. There we go. So she won't remove messages accidentally anymore. Daisy doesn't like any of my jokes. Don't worry. People in chat don't like mine either. Livid, I'm caught. You caught me. For those of you on YouTube, Livid said, yeah, I've heard your voice on Hentai Haven before I thought I recognized it. So let's go ahead and adjust that camera, because I think by default it's already kind of too far away. So if we bring it just a bit closer and a little bit to the right, I think that's a little bit more accurate to where I want it to be. And if we... It gives me a preview down there. I can go ahead and manually adjust it from here by like clicking the camera in this view and then moving it like this. But the issue is that doesn't apply to every instance of this, which is what I want it to do. I'm going to go ahead and go back here and do it. Unreal is hard. Yeah, it depends on what you're trying to do. A lot of the a lot of the simple stuff like getting a character to move is simple enough because a lot of their templates will do that for you. But I use a mixture of like the blueprints in C++. So like my character creator. Let's go ahead and show this. My character file I wrote in C++. And it's kind of a mess, but I wanted like multiple different camera systems. I wanted a unique interaction interface input. And for me as a C++ developer, granted, like somewhat of an intermediate developer in terms of skill and experience, it was easier for me to keep track of a lot of this stuff in C++, even like AI behavior. But if if you stick around for long enough, you'll see that I run into plenty of issues. But some of them I work through, some of them I fix, some of them I don't. I'm trying to make an ultra-realistic Japanese mochi making simulation game. The real anime waifu that encourages you through ASMR. Oh my gosh. I mean, if you ever have any questions about things that you get stuck on Livid, you're more than welcome to ask me or anyone else here. There's a bunch of Unreal Engine developers that are here and pop in from time to time, and happy to provide whatever help and support we can. Let me catch up on YouTube chat. Guess why I'm motivated to draw and give you one shot? Because drawing is fun and you like it. You should become a VTuber and have a cool, edgy anime model. I don't know about that, Basti. He's allergic to reading YouTube, only slightly. I just can't read, is the problem. No, it's okay. I'll just ask Reddit and get answered back in 3 years. Honestly, fair enough. Some of like my most like sought after questions have been answered by Reddit posts from 10 years ago. But that actually looks pretty good. Let's see. How do we feel about that? In terms of oh, I guess it's kind of weird because it's like can is there a way I can force this perspective to be like a 10 by 80? Or a 16 by, was it 16 by 9? I was thinking like 1920 by 1080. I don't know why I said 10 by 80. I want to change this aspect ratio. Is there like how do I do that? Is that not a thing I can do? If you need someone to make 3D model stuff, let me know. I'd be making things. I mostly hard surface model. Oh, I've been doing a lot of Blender work. Let me show you this. So like those uh monitors that we see in the game a moment ago, I made those here in Blender, and then I use Substance Painter. We can go ahead and open that up to make the textures for them. So this I had made in Blender, and I used this app to give it texture. Granted, I'm a novice Blender maker, so any tips that you have for 3D modeling, more than happy to hear any feedback you might have. Here we go. So I brought it into this app here from Adobe, and then I gave it that screen texture for the like the tube itself, and then of course the exterior to it. And then in the Discord, I dropped those files all into it. And then there's no licensing on it. If people just want to use this monitor file with its textures, people can download it and use it in their own games. It's public domain, right? You don't need to attribute me if you want to use it in your game. I hate having to deal with any attribution stuff, and I don't want people to do that with anything I share with all of you. So have at it. I clean up and optimize in Blender, or if I need to do more painting and modeling, I use Blender. You use SketchUp and then transfer to Blender. Oh, got you. I haven't used SketchUp before. SketchUp is simple. Oh, really? Yeah, Blender is... There's a pretty harsh learning curve. I should write... Hold on, I'm going to write that down. To check out SketchUp at some point. Back. We look over at YouTube. You know why I draw, you know. Still doesn't know what Pure F is? Pure F. Oh, I got all these things to Google. Hold on. PureF is a standalone program for Windows, Mac, and Linux that keeps track of your images. Huh? What does it mean by keep track of? Is it just an image editor? I'm back. Did you miss anything? Just talking a lot about some of the different tools that I use for game development. I was showing off like using Blender. Specifically when I use Blender here on stream, you'll notice that I have the keyboard inputs up. I was talking about how Blender has a pretty harsh learning curve because there's a lot of like shortcuts that you pretty much need to know to be able to use it. And so anytime I do something, I like having my keyboard capture it on screen so that if I do something that people find useful, they can follow along pretty easily. So like for instance, when I select a face and I do something like this for whatever shape I might need, you can see that I do like Control I for this inset, and then E to extrude, and then S to change the size of it, and so on and so forth. I might make a model on SketchUp and transfer it to another program like Blender or SolidWorks. Blender for game design and media making, and SolidWorks for CNC and 3D printing. Oh, is Blender not good for 3D printing? I've been using Blender on and off for about 6 years. I still don't know what the hell you're doing. The UI has changed so many times. Yeah, that's the issue I have even with like Unreal Engine. Unreal Engine actually isn't as bad. But Blender specifically, like even today, I was trying to find like where the face orientation button is. Okay, here it is now. But like I was going through earlier and trying to find it, and they just, I don't know why they keep moving things after I've already learned where it was. All I know, bevel, extrude, scale, and move. Honestly, that's like 80% of what I know how also. It holds reference images and can overlay on your screen. It's really helpful for modeling and having reference images or multiple to see. Oh yeah, question, how do you organize your game files? Ooh. Ooh, I want to do it better, because right now it's a mess. So let's go back into Unreal Engine and I can show you, because it is horrendous, and I really need to fix it. What I think I would want to do is have like a props folder or a Blender objects folder or something where I have the FBX model, the textures in the folder, and then all the UAsset files. Because, let me see if I can pull this up. If I go ahead and right click this. And if I open source location, let me make sure nothing here is sensitive. Doesn't look like it is. Oh, wait. It didn't do that. I did not do that. One sec. Here we go. So I think the ideal is to have like all the Unreal Engine assets, which are these here. Like these are one-to-one what we're seeing in this file explorer here. But then also have their source location assets. So like this here, the static mesh, you'll see its path to its source folder is somewhere completely different. It's under a Projects Blender folder. What I would like to do is have it actually be here, and then have its texture source files also be here. So that way when I do revision control, anything that changes with this monitor object file is all within this folder, rather than being spread across multiple different files. That way even like my .blend files, I would probably want to keep in here also. So that way if I make a change in Blender, even if I don't make a change to Unreal Engine, that also gets revision controlled, and I can go back to older revisions of it. I think that's going to be the ideal way of doing it. That's not what I've been doing, but that's definitely, I think, probably the better way of doing it. You Google things for Blender, and then it shows stuff from 2016. I'm about to take a huge... Oh, good luck. Hey, you just got me a new fan. Hey, Basti sent me here. This looks really cool. Hello, Melancholy. Happy to have you here. Welcome, welcome. He dual streams, so it'll be a while before he reads YouTube chat. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I like your profile pic is a dog on Discord. Oh. Talking to Basti. Show me your YouTube so I can follow you there. Oh yeah, it's the same handle. Let me go ahead and throw that out. And then if any of you are looking for the Twitch, if you're on YouTube, it doesn't matter to me which platform you're on. I try to read the chat from both. Whatever platform you're more comfortable with, but I stream at the same handle, Rendon777. Also, thanks for the follow, Livid. I appreciate it. Happy to have you here. Let me Google real quick to see if I can force a very specific aspect ratio here in the editor view. And if not, we'll just go back to a standalone project. Unreal Engine 5 editor. Viewport. Change aspect ratio. If I could spell correctly. Use the play buttons drop down for new windows to set resolution. Huh? Use the play buttons drop down for new windows to set resolution. Or for the current camera's preview, select the camera actor, go to the details panel, film. I don't know if the AI overviews give me accurate info. I have a feeling it's not. I have a feeling it's not. on your character camera, there's an option you had to tick. So maybe I can do that, and then when I hit play, it'll do it? Aha! What is this? Aspect ratio width and height. You only give me one option. Was it 16 by 9? Is that what it is? Oh. Sure. Hopefully that didn't break something. I'm sure it did. I'll only scroll up and read chat messages. You know, for doing a lot of art, I should probably make my own profile picture instead of taking a screenshot of a meme. It's for a later you problem. Melancholy, woohoo! One more Twitch channel followed. Now I have an incentive to use Twitch. Hello, Melancholy. Welcome to Twitch. Oh, thanks for the subscribe with Prime. Happy to have you here. You got followed on the main and the alt account. Oh, is that you, Melancholy? Well, thank you, thank you. I appreciate it. Oh, yes. Look at that. It did force the aspect ratio. Oh, but only for that camera. Okay, hold on. If we do it for this camera also, and let's go ahead and actually undo it with this, because I don't want to force the players who play the game to be in a very specific aspect ratio, but for the sake of testing this to see how it looks, it would be nice to not have to do a standalone game each time. Both you. Well, welcome, welcome. Glad to have you. Thank you, thank you. You're welcome for the fan. Basti, thank you as well. Okay. It's hard to tell where the cutoff is on the right side for the aspect ratio because it's so dark. But what do we think about this? You know what? Let's light up this room a little bit more. Or at least maybe move this so it's directly above. Okay. So, if any of you are just joining, what I'm trying to figure out is how much of the screen do I want these two monitors to take up when we're in this very specific viewpoint. And so if you can't see the aspect ratio, here is the edge of the left side. So this is where the edge of your screen and monitor would be. And then on the right side, here is the other edge. The idea for this existing in world is that you can see behind the monitor and you can also look behind you for threats and monsters that are actively pursuing you. So, the text probably won't be too much smaller, if any, than the text we have on screen now. I might need to scoot the camera a little bit more to the right because these are stretching a little too much. But how do we feel about this? On mobile, it might be difficult because you're already looking at a small screen. Oh, you're the one who did the fan art for Basti? Oh, that's cool. Yeah, we were looking at it at the beginning of the stream tonight. We were going over the Discord messages. And Daisy keeps throwing the Discord out. That's my bot, so she usually does the chat moderation. Also, I turned her chat moderation off because she was deleting too many people's messages. My bad. I need to get around to fixing that. I have it. She's better in the Discord. I'll say that. While I'm waiting for people to hopefully leave feedback on the camera, go ahead and move it to the left just a little bit. Of course. It's always cool seeing talented people roll up and doing like cool stuff. You think multiple screens is too much. You think it's better one screen and pop-ups. We can test that out pretty quickly. If we do something like this. Another option could be, so like if we go back to GIMP, we can kind of draw this out like a rough prototype. It could be like, so let's say that these here are our two screens. It could be that we have like a button that like maybe by default it zooms you in on whatever screen you click on, and maybe there's a button that lets you zoom out to do multiple screens. How do people feel about that? We could probably program that pretty quickly, honestly. It is also weird because the aspect ratio of the screen is square because it's vintage, like that was prior to 16:9 being popularized. So it's not going to fill up the full screen. Definitely needs to focus more. Well, let's go ahead and do this. Let's grab our... let's make a widget. So if we go to... the way... Where I've saved all my widgets makes absolutely no sense. Tester, settings, game menu, in-game UI. What is this? Well, let's make a duplicate of this. Let's call this, what is it? Widget blueprint. My naming convention's all over the place. We'll just do in game monitor or camera monitor controller. Cam monitor controller. We have this button, and what we'll do is we will have it to be, you click on the left, it'll take you to the left screen. Click on the right, it'll take you to the right screen. And then maybe if you click at the bottom, it'll zoom you out to have two screens in one. And maybe if you, I don't know how I feel about that. I posted my stuff now in the art channel on the Discord. Together, let's make the Mochi's Making Sim game. Well, it's tomorrow now, so I better get some sleep while I don't see the shadow figure. So good night, and have a happy new year. Good night, username. I will see you next time. It will be the new year. So thank you for dropping by, username. I appreciate you and all the... Whoa, there's a lot of cool art. Okay, we'll go over this, but just a sec. We'll pop in the Discord for just a moment. For any of you also popping off right about now, because I usually only stream for about 2 hours, so we're kind of past the duration I typically stream. Next stream is going to be this coming Friday. If you're in the Discord under the schedule tab, it updates to your local time zone when the next stream is going to be. For me, that's 10 p.m. Pacific time. I stream later in the day on Fridays because it's easier for me to do that, but also for folks in the EU and beyond, it's later in the morning. They don't have to wake up so early to check it out. So, going to be doing more of what we're doing tonight. So hopefully, I'll have some more stuff to show off. But it will be the new year. It'll be 2 days past it. So if you're leaving now and I don't see you in the Discord until then, Happy New Year. And by the way, if you don't want to join the Discord, but you still want to keep up to date with the streams and stuff, easiest way to do that is to either follow the Twitch if you're on Twitch, or subscribe on YouTube if you're on YouTube. If you happen to be looking for something to watch, and I happen to be live, odds are I'll be recommended to you. Best way and easiest way to do it. Well, let's check out some of the art tab stuff. This is the stuff that I made. This is our new friend. It's hidden. I'm gonna turn this off. Oh yeah, this is Livid. This is cool. What app is this? Oh, this is SketchUp. That does look sick. I don't know if you're still here, Livid. You might have dipped already. Are the camera controls in SketchUp better than Blender? Because Blender's kind of suck. Yeah, this is cool. Cool stuff. I'll catch up on YouTube chat. You think the multiple screens is too hard to read that one? Maybe if Llama surrounds himself with enough talented people, some skill will rub off on him. Hey. It's just a lot with seeing the whole computer. Yeah, I think so. Definitely need to focus more. Why is everyone so talented? A lot of it comes from consistency and continuing to work on, honing their skills. Not everyone is perfect from the beginning. And if you stop working on something just because you're not good at it immediately, then nothing in this world would have ever been created. Because everybody sucks at something at the jump. You just have to kind of keep working at it. I know it's disheartening, at least, even from my perspective, some of my characters, folks are drawing better fan art than the little scribbles that I've done. So again, Nibble, fantastic stuff. Far better than I am, and I could have done. Can't I just do things and be good at it? Oh, I wish. So when you hover over an object, you zoom in with the scroll wheel that you use right click and shift to rotate around things. Simple. Oh. Like flying around in Forge mode in Halo. Oh. I might have to check it out. Is SketchUp free or is it like a paid software? I've heard the name get thrown around a couple of times, but I don't know much about it. For the time being with these button panels, I think probably end game of what I'll do is when you're in this backed out view, maybe you can click on the outer rim of this, or maybe have individual buttons to zoom in on a single monitor. Or for the time being, what I'm gonna do is left takes you to the left monitor, right takes you to the right monitor, down takes you out to fit 2 monitors in one, and then up takes you back into a single monitor. We'll go ahead and why did it do that? I wish it didn't. Boom. Perfect. We just have we have a frame around our screen now. I may know how to get it to you for free in a very legal way. I don't know if that's sarcasm or not. I could just I could get you SketchUp in Minecraft. Let's just. Oh no. I mean, I have no issue paying for software, mind you. I was just curious. Because when I recommend software, especially to people that watch the stream, it's easier if it's free and easily accessible. I think that's why Blender is so popular. One of those corpo suckers. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. A lot of philosophy going on in YouTube chat. Respect. Anyone have any like goals they've set for themselves for the new year? PG, please. Sleep before 1 a.m. Oh no. Make a game? Honestly, fair enough. Same. You're joking when you say you're discouraged. Yeah, fair enough. But I'm sure there are some people, there are plenty of people who may even be watching this now, whether live or the VOD after the fact that might not chat, that do feel discouraged when they see people making amazing, incredible stuff. So I think it is like it's a valid thought to have, but I think the thought process or the conclusion that people come to is sometimes flawed. Which you're currently failing, but it's alright because it's not 2026 yet. There you go. There you go. I like how you think. Okay, get your own goals, please. My goal is to learn how to animate. That is where I hope drawing takes you. My goal is to release something of this that's playable and stable where people can leave criticism so that I can improve as a software developer and game designer. I don't. There are a handful of people here who are new. Some of them are not. I love when people come in here, especially newer folk. But I've always been pretty adamant that if something of mine were to pop off and become popular, I would much rather it be any of the works that I create, very specifically just the games, rather than the YouTube channel. Because I like being able to stop and pause for a moment and read everyone's comment that they might leave in the live chat. And I'm grateful that so many people come here, and it's just incredible to see everyone talking in the Discord. But I would also like to have a lot of people enjoying the things that I make, the games that I make, the worlds that I try to tell the stories of. And so I feel like the best of both is, you know, mass amounts of people enjoy the games and the stories, and maybe will come to check the streams out. But people who are truly interested in like game development and just the pursuit of their own hobbies and happiness is kind of this tight-knit community we've got here. But despite the size, I will always welcome all folk as long as they're welcoming of everyone else that's here already. Thank you for the bits. What a heartfelt convo. Thank you. So to get this to work, I need to, on interaction, which is captured here, on this top branch here, when we interaction starts, I need to create widget. And very specifically, I want to create the in-game camera monitor widget. And then add to viewport. And I believe I also have to set... Actually, I don't know. We'll find out soon enough if I do this. And then I also have to keep track of this individually. We'll make a new variable. We'll call this camera widget. Get a widget object reference. I will model a monster for your game. We've had some... I haven't designed too many. The only one that I've really designed, I have a bunch of smaller ones. I showed like chicken scratch concept art of at like one point a long time ago. And then Nibble came and turned it into this. So this is like one of the very small handful of monsters or just even characters that I've created so far. Art, again, courtesy of Nibble, who is in chat here tonight, where her body is like a rag doll, but she can't control her own like muscles or her own limbs, but she can control the razor wire that's wrapped around her body, almost as if those are her muscles, those are her limbs. And she can pull on those razor wire and connect them to different parts of like the ceiling or walls to pull on and tug parts of her body. And getting that to work with the physics engine and Unreal Engine is something I've been trying to do offline. Admittedly, I haven't spent too much time on it recently, but that was one of the characters, and Nibble took that crap concept I had and turned it into fantastic art. But that's kind of like the only monster concept I have that's really fleshed out. There are a couple of others I have that I think I may have talked about very briefly, but like nothing too set in stone, really. Very scary already. That's true. Daisy. Basti made Daisy. He drew fan art of... Daisy's role in the game isn't super antagonistic, at least in the first part that I have her. Like, I guess when we get to more of what her role is going to be in the game, I'll explain it. I feel like if I were to try to explain it now, it just wouldn't make sense unless I gave a whole lot of context that just doesn't exist yet. GTA 6 is delayed again? Doing your part by lurking because I don't know anything about video games. You know what, Dimitri? You're always welcome here, whether you're lurking or chatting. But always, always happy to have you here. But yeah, as Nibble was saying, nobody knows anything about games. Even the person who is hosting the stream tonight, me. As we are 2 hours, 21 minutes, and 47 seconds into the game, or into the stream, and I've added 3 widgets. But of course, that's just a comedic, overly pessimistic view. A lot of game design, a lot of process is very slow. At least the way that I do it. But to anyone else who's just lurking or even watching the VODs after the fact, it's always great when people want to chat and talk. We're always, of course, more than welcome and more than happy to have you here. But by no means do you have to. Some people have their own comfort zone, and I don't want to push people out of that. Let me go ahead and fix this. I capitalized the I accidentally in widget. So here, I want to remove from parent, and I don't know if it'll let me do that. Oh, I think it does. He's sick. That's going to be how we close it. So we're just going to test real quick if this actually spawns the widget correctly and deletes it when I'm interacting with it. I was told before I studied the biggest skill a dev has is being comfortable with the feeling of not knowing what they're doing. I mean, yeah, it's for sure an iterative process. Ooh, okay. It worked. Well, worked is perhaps a bit too generous. If I do it as a standalone game, does it look correct? Essentially, the aspect ratio is busted. But that might be in a simpler fix than it, I might be thinking it is. Okay, I mean, the aspect ratio is kind of correct. I would probably want to make these transparent to some degree here. Because having these white borders on the side is kind of annoying. We can go ahead and do that. But now that we got the basics working. Color. Maybe a nice blue. Oh, apparently that did nothing. What was the point of me changing the color? Okay, I guess color doesn't change the color. Background color though. That's the good one. What's even the point of this? And then let's fade this out a little bit, like a 0.2. Copy this so that we can just. And then this part is kind of So this is the part where I need to try to think about what's the smartest way of doing this. Because the buttons, when they get pressed, execute logic here. But this is in its own object, or its own actor, or widget, whatever the correct terminology is. But I wanted to do something here in this one. So what I could do is... trying to think. I could get it... Oh no. That's... I was gonna say, like, oh, it could get its parent actor to, like, call upon itself, but that doesn't make too much sense. Because ultimately, what I wanted to do is just, like, take this camera and move it to the right. Or move it back, or, like, wherever the camera needs to be based on what button the player pushes. But to do that, it needs access to this. So I guess the first thing for me to do is to make a new function and call this move camera. And I make this public. Do this location. Make this a transform. Is that right? No. Vector? And there's going to be no output. And then what it does, set location. Is this. And then it's done. So now I need to figure out how do I get the right location to get past in here. What I could probably do is have a couple of different arrows. Just to keep track of like where that camera location is. And then I can remove parent here. There it goes. So like that would be default location 1. Or I could have multiple cameras. I just feel like multiple cameras, it gets messy. And it might be easier just to have one camera that I move. Go ahead and go back to selected viewport. Now let's do this. So this is with 2 screens. I want it to default to just the 1. Go back here. Actually, before I do that, let's go ahead and see if those 2 screens are where I want them to be. That's pretty okay. Maybe move it a little bit more to the right so that we can fill in this little buffer area here. Also zoom in just a touch more. I like that. So this will be dual monitor, position 1. So indicating that it's those first 2 monitors. Then if we want, single monitor, that's actually pretty good. Maybe zoom out just a touch and zoom in, or zoom out just a touch and go up midge. I'm comfortable with that. I'll add a new arrow. Call it single monitor 1. Zero out all of these. Reattach. And then probably want to do single monitor or 2. That's actually pretty good. Not super centered though. Let's move it a little bit more to the left. Actually, the best way to do this... Oh, dang, that's not centered. If that was centered, I could have used the same y-axis for the monitor as I could the camera. But actually, how about the widget screen? Is that center? It is. Okay, we can use that. If I can find which one is associated with that. There it is. Okay, sick. Gonna be this green, so negative 5, 0. Oh, that's its position in ref. What's its world location? No, shoot. Seven. What? Why did changing this to 7? Why is the green here not equal to the green here? What? Why? How does that make any sense? Okay, I guess 54. What I want. And then for the sake of consistency, I may as well do that here also. 15.1559. I just have to do it with this arrow. We add arrow. Single monitor. 2. There we go. And then we just do the same thing for the dual monitors on the right. Now that we've kind of got a little bit more of a process here, this hopefully shouldn't take as long. See how this looks. That doesn't look quite right. Why? What? Wait, why does it think the camera's way out there? I didn't see anything, like any one particularly that was like cool or exciting. During my family trip. Okay, well, like, I think my mom's cool, but like, to the 10 people in chat tonight, I don't think the sentiment is shared. you know? Why is this camera so messed up? I think your mom is cool. Thank you. No. Yeah, I don't get why. Can I reset just this camera? There it goes. That's what I wanted to do. You don't need to meet my mom to know she's cool. Thanks, Melancholy. I think she's cool too. Alright. A new arrow. Call this single monitor 3. She actually made like what's she called? It's like either dressing or stuffing. Like I've heard them used interchangeably, but it's like some kind of like breading, and you can buy it in just a box, and it's just like the breading and like onions and stuff. But like the way that she cooks it, she adds like meat to it with a whole bunch of other different spices and veggies, and like a cup of melted butter. It is the it is the yummiest thing I've had for like Thanksgiving, Christmas dinner. I need to make sure to get the recipe from her at some point so I can make it. It was something I think my grandmother used to make, and then it passed down to my mother. So I need to make sure I get that. That the the future generation of the Dons can continue to have the good tasting stuffing. Stop making you. Sorry. Not intentional. Not intentional. Stuffy. Little slip up. It is later than I'm usually up this time of week. But I'm kind of close to getting this to work well, and I think that would be a fun place to stop. Like getting the UI to work. That way there's actually some progress we made tonight, even though I said it would be a just chatting stream. I might not be able to get the dual I could. It would need more logic to it. Where would this need to be to get both of those monitors looking cool? Hold on. I forget that every so often, like, because, oh, my phone is almost out of battery. Whoops. Because I set my alarm, like, with my phone, it decides to, like, go to bedtime mode at, like, 8 hours before I wake up. And then just, like, essentially goes to do not disturb, so I can't say, like, any messages that I was just, like, seeing a flood of messages come in. Accountability check, what are you going to do by next stream? I will figure out what I want to do next stream by next stream. Yeah. I say hi guys to my family as a joke, even if it's to one person. I don't know how it started. I've caught myself saying it to my friends as well. Hi guys. Isn't that like the Toby Fox thing? Well, okay, obviously it's not just him. He's not the. He didn't claim that. You know what I mean. I saw a meme and he said that. Ooh, that didn't fit quite well. Hold on. I don't know how I feel about the monitors being on top of each other like that. Oh, I see, I see. You're not impressed? Oh, no. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of this layout. Okay. What I'll do is probably either next stream we'll do this, or by next stream I'll have this done, is either figure out a way to make this look better, like having these monitors on top of each other, or move this one down here to the side. What we'll do tonight is we'll see if we can get like just these two to work on the left, to where you can go back and forth between them, or also go out to the zoomed out mode. So let's go ahead and do that, and we'll see. I'll give myself up to about 15 more minutes on this before I just call it a night. We pick up next time. So we're gonna make a new function. Actually, not a function. We'll make this a. No, yeah, we'll make it a function. Why not? Because then we can make this public, I think. We'll call this set. Actually, you know what? We don't need to make a new function. We can reuse this one. We can do move camera, and rather than the input being a vector, we have it be an integer. And then position. And this goes into a switch statement. I don't know why. Oh, that's why. And then we grab single monitor 1. Get location. And then we just do this a couple times. Single monitor 2. I don't know why I did a copy paste. Plugs in the U. And then dual monitor. I think if you're going to do computers on top of each other, you really have to draw attention to the fact it's the 90s and have some janky arrangement, like the IT guy just had to solve a problem. That's actually a pretty funny idea. Can you show me how to do something in Unreal Engine? Sure. What do you want to see? And I think that'll do it. So then here... if I make a new custom event set controller, make a variable. Does this have a class? It doesn't. Oh, it has interactable interface. I don't know if I can make an interactable interface. Oh, yikes. We'll make controller pzoom terminal. There it is. From beginning to end, make a game, quick tutorial. All right. You open up Unreal Engine. You go to one of the templates. You build one of the templates. And then it'll give you something like this, and then you can walk around. That's your game. Basic, no ending, but it's a game. And when you're ready to build it, you go to File. Can't see File, hold on. You go to File. Just kidding, they moved it in Unreal Engine 5. You go to Platforms, Windows, change it to Shipping, and then Package. And that'll build it. And that's how you make your game. Easy. Before I forget, what's your vision for the game you're making? Is it horror-esque? Yes. It blends a lot of the DNA of horror games of like the late 90s and 2000s with some of the DNA of horror games today, like the Friend Slop games. So, Phasmophobia, Five Nights at Freddy's, Lethal Company, mixed with Silent Hill Resident Evil. And it's not like an uninspired, just smash all of these together to get a game. It's which of these elements are best to kind of like isolate and pull out that might work well with elements of more co-op oriented games like Phasmo and Lethal Company. So that's the intention. I think Basti is right. I definitely should make an overall concept video. That way, like, I can explain in depth so that newer folk have an easier time kind of catching up to speed. What did I name this? Move camera. You'd love to see the breakdown? Yeah, I think that should be one of the things I work on at some point soon. I'm always concerned about like making something before I'm ready to go, if that makes sense. Like if I don't have enough to show for something, then I'm worried that it's just not going to work well. Let's see, dual monitor position, so that's switch 2. But a lot of that is just me getting into my own head, realistically, rather than it being an actual tangible concern. Let's see, the camera moves to the right, so that goes to single monitor 2, which is index 1. I really should use enumerations for this, so I should come back and do that at some point later. but for the time being, it's fine. Just to kind of get something going to some workable extent. You just want to see Llama's editing skills in action. You need a manager to organize your fan base so you can just code. I feel like a lot of the organization stuff is fun, but I mean, in fairness, I don't necessarily have all the time that I need to do it correctly, or rather, not necessarily correctly, but to do it justice, I think is a better way of explaining that. But it feels less authentic if I have it, like, you know, if I just offload that work. Who would do that? Sure ain't gonna be me. And then the other thing I want to do, I can probably do this at some other time, but like, have it to be like, if you're on the right side of the screen and you're at the far right, don't show this button anymore because you can't go any further right. And then this zooms us back in. Which is just going to be back to position 1, which is 0. Okay, I think this will do it. And then all I have to do is do the set controller here. Huh. Do I need to make it public somehow? Do I need to cast it to an in-game widget? Maybe it just thinks it's a widget. I don't know if this will work. I think everything is connected, but I have no idea. Oh, there we go. Maybe give it more of a smooth transition at some point would be something to do next. Clean up the actual boundary boxes. Cool. Well, managed to do that within less than 15 minutes. Nice. Okay, I think that's a good stopping point for this evening. Let me check Discord real quick. I don't think people have posted too much. Ooh, just kidding, I lied. Let's see what this is. Master Chief. Nice. Remember, if you want to join in next time, on Friday, so in 4 days at 10 p.m. Pacific, which is right about now, I'll be live again doing pretty much the same thing, a lot of yapping, but also a lot of talking game design and trying to bounce ideas off of different people. If you're in the Discord, this channel updates the stream schedule to your local time zone, so you don't need to worry about that. If you don't want to be in the Discord, but you still want to catch next stream, easiest way to do that is just follow the channel. Whether you're on Twitch or YouTube, I dual stream. And if you happen to be looking for something to watch and I happen to be live, I'll likely get recommended to you. But that's it for me for now. I'm going to get some sleep. I will see you all on Friday after the new year. So I hope you guys all have a fantastic New Year's Eve following into a New Year's Day. Hopefully you all have some fun stuff planned. If not, hopefully you at least get to enjoy sleeping in on New Year's Day. If not, maybe just staying up late and having a fun time relaxing at home. I actually started... oh, you're talking to Nibble. Started making videos. Cool, yeah. Anytime any of you have any stuff that you want to share with anyone in the Discord, you're always welcome to do so. There are channels there specifically for you to share stuff, channels there specifically for you to self-advertise. It's always fun to see people showing off the things that they're working on or ideas they have, and I'll be in there too chatting from time to time. But okay. A wholesome first stream. Thank you. Have a good. Thank you, Melancholy. I appreciate you dropping by tonight. Anyone else who is new here tonight, whether you chatted or not, or are watching the VOD on YouTube after the fact or not, I appreciate you being here. Thank you. So, hopefully you get some entertainment value out of this, whatever that might be. That means I'm doing something correct. But I'm gonna get some sleep. I hope you all do the same, unless it's morning, in which case, good morning to you. But for those of you who it is like me, it is late in the evening. Good night, sleep well, sweet dreams. I will see you all on Friday. Good night.